Jeff, the host of the Gridiron.
Fourth and goal to go with the 2. 34 seconds left to go in the ball game. This is the play right now. Takes the snap. Targeted goes in. Targeted all alone. And the quarterback keeps. Wow, what a call. Nobody touched him.
Jaxson Dart holds the key for the Giants. Well, that's what the Giants are betting on. See this here. Where are we at here? There we go. All right. Good old Jaxson Dart. He's the key to the Giants catching the NFC East rivals. That's, I mean, the one of the biggest things, obviously, now, it's been for a long time, right, is that the Giants, especially when they predict, right, wins for the Giants, right, like Vegas, never predicts the Giants to have a lot of wins and all that stuff. There's always been a couple of constants, right? One of them has usually been Daniel Jones. Like Vegas or nobody else really thinks much highly of Daniel Jones. We've always had a not a very good offensive line, right? So usually those two things really, right, make it where the Giants don't get a lot of love, especially from PFF or Vegas or a lot of these beat writers, right? And one of the things that the Giants, have going to have a hard time, right, trying to, in the minds of and the eyes of all these other people, trying to catch the rest of the NFC is the quarterback play, right? I mean, you look at Jalen Hurts, right? I'm not super duper high on Jalen Hurts. Take Jalen Hurts and put him on the Giants. Let's see how good he is, right? He's surrounded by a fantastic team, right? But with Dak Prescott, and of course, Jaden Daniels, right? I mean, those guys are up here, and our quarterback play is usually down around here, right? So we got ways to go to catch the rest of the guys in the NFC East. Giants picked Jaxson Dart, but proving he's a franchise quarterback stands between them and the rest of the division. That's it. Giants fans have every right to be optimistic heading into 2025, freed from the shackles of Daniel Jones. Giants have proved that the most important position by signing quarterback Russell Wilson. Edge rusher Abdul Carter adds a third blue chip talent to the roster, and the team's floor feels much higher than yesteryear. However, a tough schedule, very tough schedule, dampens that optimism. And for all of its improvements, New York is still well behind its division rivals. The Giants' schedule is more difficult than their rivals because everybody else gets 2 games with an advantage under center. Yep. Wilson is an upgrade over Jones, DeVito, and Drew Lock. But the gap between Wilson and Dak Prescott, Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels for New York's 2025 hopes, that's all that matters. Subsequently, first-round rookie passer Jaxson Dart is the key to the Giants catching their NFC East rivals. Signed to a $10.5 million deal, Wilson isn't meant to be the franchise quarterback. He's the bridge to Dart and a totally viable option for the assignment. That's not lost on anybody, but his presence is crucial. Dart is set for a redshirt season, or at least as much as New York can afford. Wilson alleviates that pressure and should win enough games to prevent a complete catastrophe. Jameis Winston signed a 2-year deal, ensures that even if Wilson goes down, Dart won't have to start until he's ready. Armed with a pair of veteran leaders, a quarterback guru and head coach, and one of the game's best young receivers, Dart is set for success. It's a matter of when, not if, he replaces Wilson. That's when the fun begins. Giants won't be favored to rise out of last place with Wilson under center. Currently, Dart isn't helping that mark either. But the path to catching the Cowboys, the Eagles, and the Commanders starts with having a quarterback capable of matching the stars competing atop the division. Nobody knows whether Dart can take that leap and end East Rutherford's struggles, but he's the chance the New York faithful have had in some time. And that's worth getting excited about, regardless of how fans felt ahead of the selection. So it's, you can obviously, as it says in this article here. Yeah, you can bring in all these guys, right? Have a phenomenal defense. I mean, unless we beat everybody 2-0, right? You gotta get some good quarterback play, right? Bring Russell Wilson in, certainly going to help. I love Jameson Winston, but I've said this 3,000 times. He'll throw you in a game. He'll also throw you out of a game, right? But he's going to sling that ball, right? We're going to get some excitement with Jameson, right? But that doesn't necessarily we're going to get some wins. But the key thing here is we got to find the franchise quarterback, right? And we've been going through this ever since 2019, and we won't know. Maybe we'll get a little glimpse of them. Don't know. Somewhere along the line this season, maybe if we're getting blown out in a game, hope not. But if we're losing like 30-7 with 10 minutes to go in the game, maybe they pull Wilson and put Dart in there. Who knows? Maybe if we wind up, I don't know. I hope not. Once again, but hopefully we start off 3-9 or something like that. Once again, I hope not. But 3-9. That's what 12's away to the final 5 games of the season. Maybe you put Dart in there because all those snaps would be invaluable to him. Now the thing is that obviously, of course, you always wind up going back and looking back at what happened with Eli, right? 2004 when we had Kurt Warner in there. Actually, we were 5-2 at one point that season. Then we lost 2 tough games on the road, and we went 5-4. So that was with 7 games left in the season, right? They pulled the plug. And we're 5-4. We still had a shot at the playoffs. Now, were we a good enough team to win a Super Bowl? Probably not. If you listen to Kurt Warner, he didn't think the Giants were a good enough team to win a Super Bowl that year. But could they have made the playoffs? Quite possibly. Like I said, at one point we were 5-2. We lost 2 tough road games, and then we went to 5-4. And with a 5-4 and a winning record, they pulled the plug on the season and put in Eli Manning. Now he got totally annihilated his first 6 games. We went from 5-4 to 5-10. Actually, I mean, as horrible as it was, right? We lost 8 games in a row. We went from 5-2 to 5-10. Me and my son and I, we were at the last game of the season that year. They played the Cowboys. It was the last game of the season. It was a Sunday night game. I don't remember. It was January 2nd or 3rd or whatever, but it was the last game of the regular season. There was no back then. They didn't have where they could flip teams and stuff like that. We got 2 crappy teams on Sunday night. Let's move them to 1:00. We'll put some good teams on it. And they didn't do that back then. So it wound up being a great game, and you can start seeing where Eli was starting to coming into his own. Now I was at the first 6 games, like that Raven game. Oh my God. I think he had like a negative quarterback rating. I think it was like minus 57 or something. It was just unbelievable. It was painful to watch. But the Cowboys weren't very good either. After the game was over, the Cowboys and the Giants were both 6-10. So neither team was very good. But you can see that the Giants, I think it was 24-21. I think it was, if I'm not mistaken. And the Giants got the ball. I don't know, 2 minutes to go, whatever it was, had the ball. And Eli trots on the field, and he marched them down the field. And what he did was the Giants I forgot what it was. It was 3rd down, maybe something like whatever it was. We were down around the 2-yard line or the 3-yard line. And I guess maybe he had a I'm sure it's on YouTube. But the nice thing was our seats were down around the goal line. So we were right down by that end zone when they scored the touchdown. But he went up to the line of scrimmage. He probably had a pass play on, and he checked out of it, right? And he called the draw play to Tiki, right? So he got the ball, draw play to Tiki, hole wide open. Tiki walks in the end zone for a touchdown. Giants, I think it was 28-24 when it went. So you could start seeing them. All those reps were valuable to him. Right. And you can start seeing, obviously, as time went on, he started getting better and better. And then, of course, the following season, we made the playoffs. Crazy as that was. So, are the Giants willing to do something like that? We'll have to wait and see. Another thing you got to think about, too, is with Dart, right, is that this will probably, right, give possibly, right, maybe, unless we go like 1-16 or something like that, but this might give at least Dable an extra season because he's got his quarterback. He's got the quarterback of the future for the Giants, right? So you don't want one and done with Dable. Dable drafts Dart, and then Dable's gone. So it might give him an extra season, even if we're not doing super spectacular, because we got to see what Dart can do, right? So the thing is Dable going to do what's best for the Giants, or is he going to do what's best for the Giants / Dable, right? Meaning, like, well, if Dart's not going to get a lot of reps this season, well, next season he's got to start. We need to see something from him next season, right? Because if we don't see something from Dart next season, boy, my job, I'm gone, right? So I'm going to need to see something. The Giants, Mr. Mara, is going to need to see something from Dart. Maybe not in 2025, but at least in 2026. So to see some really decent reps in 2026. He might have to get some reps in 2020 or as many as he can in 2025 to really help him out in 2026, right? So that's the same thing. So pulling the plug on this season somewhere along the line, we'll have to wait and see. I said it was just very gutsy, very, very good. Because that was Coughlin's first season, the pull up 5-4. A winning season, we had playoffs. We only had 7 games to go. We were 5-4, and he pulled the plug on the season. So, but what Kurt Warner was talking about was true. Back in 2004, the Giants were not a Super Bowl team. Whether they went to the playoffs or not, they weren't going to a Super Bowl. Same thing with this year. So I'm not saying the Giants will be in a playoff position. That would be nice, but if we are in a playoff, the Giants are not a Super Bowl bound team. So would that be, could we revisit 2004 all over again? Interesting. As I said, it's going to be very interesting to see what starts going on with Dart, because, the more reps he can get, obviously, the more it's going to help him out. Not so much this year, but next year and going forward. So very, very interesting.